The Mystery of D.B. Cooper. Hello, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we investigate a case that is part heist, part mystery, and part legend. A crime that has captivated America for over half a century. This is the story of a man who hijacked a plane, extorted a fortune, and then vanished into thin air. A ghost known to the world only as D.B. Cooper. Our story begins on November 24, 1971, the day before Thanksgiving. A cold, rainy day at Portland International Airport. A man in his mid-40s, wearing a dark business suit, white shirt, and a black tie, calmly walked to the counter for Northwest Orient Airlines. Using cash, he bought a one-way ticket to Seattle. He gave his name as Dan Cooper. His flight was Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305. The flight took off on schedule at 2:50 p.m. Cooper sat in the back of the plane, in seat 18C. He lit a cigarette and calmly ordered a bourbon and soda. Shortly after takeoff, he handed a note to a flight attendant named Florence Schaffner. Thinking it was a lonely businessman's phone number, she initially put it in her purse. Cooper leaned closer and whispered, "Miss, you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." The hijacking had begun. Schaffner read the note. Cooper then opened his briefcase just enough for her to see a terrifying tangle of wires and red sticks. The threat was real. Cooper's demands, relayed to the cockpit, were calm and precise. He wanted $200,000 in unmarked $20 bills. He also demanded 4 parachutes, 2 primary back chutes and 2 reserve chest chutes. This detail would baffle investigators for years. He ordered the plane to land at Seattle-Tacoma Airport, where the money and parachutes were to be delivered. He promised to release the passengers once his demands were met. For the next 2 hours, the plane circled over Seattle while the FBI scrambled on the ground to gather the money and parachutes. It was a tense standoff. The FBI photographed all 10,000 of the $20 bills. A total of $200,000, weighing about 21 pounds, was placed in a bank bag. The plane landed in Seattle. An airline employee walked onto the tarmac and handed over the cash and parachutes. Cooper, true to his word, released all 36 passengers and 2 flight attendants. But the ordeal was not over. Cooper kept the pilots and 1 flight attendant on board. He then gave his new flight plan: fly to Mexico City, at a low altitude and low speed. He specifically requested that the Boeing 727 take off with its rear air stir, the staircase at the back of the plane, still in the down position. This was a unique feature of the 727. The pilots explained this was too dangerous for takeoff, but agreed to lower it in the air. At 7:40 p.m., the plane was back in the sky, headed south. 2 F-106 fighter jets from a nearby Air Force base were scrambled to follow the airliner from a distance, but they were ordered to stay out of sight. Sometime after 8 p.m., over the rugged, forested wilderness of southwestern Washington state, Cooper made his move. He calmly told the remaining flight attendant to go into the cockpit and stay there. This was the last time anyone ever saw Dan Cooper. The pilots felt a sudden change in air pressure. Cooper had lowered the aft stairs and, with the money strapped to his body, leaped into the freezing, stormy night. He jumped from a plane flying at 10,000 feet, into 200-mile-per-hour winds, a raging thunderstorm, and into one of the most rugged landscapes in America. The plane eventually landed safely in Reno, Nevada, for a second refueling. Police stormed the plane, only to find it empty. Cooper and the money were gone. The FBI launched one of the most extensive and expensive manhunts in U.S. history. They calculated Cooper's likely landing zone and deployed hundreds of soldiers to search the area. For weeks, they scoured the dense forests and mountains. They found nothing. No parachute, no briefcase, no money, and no body. It was as if he had simply vanished. The case, codenamed Norjuk, became an obsession for the FBI. They investigated thousands of suspects over the next several decades, but every lead went cold. For 9 years, the mystery remained frozen in time. Then, in 1980, an incredible discovery was made. An 8-year-old boy named Brian Ingram, digging in the sand on the banks of the Columbia River at a place called Tena Bar, found 3 rotting bundles of cash. The FBI confirmed the serial numbers. It was Cooper's money. A total of $5,800 had been found, deepening the mystery. How did it get there? Tena Bar was miles away from the projected landing zone. And why was only a small portion of the money found? Did it wash down the river, or did Cooper bury it there? The case has had no shortage of suspects. One of the most famous was Richard McCoy Jr., a Vietnam veteran who conducted a nearly identical copycat hijacking just months after Cooper. While the similarities were striking, McCoy was later ruled out by the FBI due to physical mismatches and other evidence. He was not D.B. Cooper. Over the years, dozens of other men have been named as suspects by amateur sleuths and authors, but no one has ever been definitively linked to the crime. The case leaves us with 2 great questions. First, who was he? An experienced paratrooper? An airline employee? Or just a desperate man who got lucky? The second, and most important question, is, did he survive the jump? The FBI has always maintained that he likely died upon impact. They argue no experienced skydiver would jump in such dangerous conditions. At night, into a storm, with freezing rain, and into a dense forest. The odds of survival were near zero. Others believe he was a skilled professional who knew exactly what he was doing. They argue that the lack of a body is proof that he landed safely, hid his gear, and walked away. In 2016, after 45 years of investigation, the FBI officially suspended the active case. They concluded that they had exhausted all credible leads. D.B. Cooper's crime resulted in major changes to airline security. Cockpit doors were reinforced, and the Boeing 727 was fitted with a device, nicknamed the Cooper vane, to prevent the lowering of the aft stairs in flight. But his greatest legacy is his transformation into an American folk hero. A symbol of rebellion against the system. The man who pulled off the perfect crime. The only physical evidence left behind on the plane was Cooper's black tie. In recent years, scientists found particles of pure titanium on it, a rare element used in the aerospace industry. This has led to the theory that Cooper may have been an engineer or a manager at a high-tech aerospace company, possibly even Boeing itself. But like all things in this case, it's just another tantalizing clue in a mystery with no solution. A puzzle waiting for its final piece. Who was D.B. Cooper? Did he get away with it and live a life of quiet wealth? Or did his bones lie scattered and forgotten in the vast wilderness of the Pacific Northwest? After more than 50 years, the truth remains elusive, lost to the winds of that stormy Thanksgiving Eve. He remains a ghost, a legend, and the perpetrator of America's only unsolved skyjacking. A man who simply jumped out of a plane and into history. Thank you for joining us on this investigation. If you found this story compelling, please subscribe for more deep dives into history's greatest unsolved mysteries.